And we're back to learning to code, and this time I'm going to walk you through the 11th course on freecodecamp.org. We are still in the HTML and CSS section, so we're talking about responsive web design. And this part's main focus is pseudo selectors, right here where we are going to build a balance sheet. It's 65 steps in total, and that's the end result. So there's a little bit of an interactive feature right here where we hover over a field and it's going to change its color. Even that is possible in CSS. Let's dive right in with step 1. It's creating a basic website structure. Nothing that we haven't seen already. But at this point, we're going to get less and less hints by freecodecamp, and we'll have to do it from memory, or you can always go to Google or a search engine to look that stuff up. But at some point you're going to remember. So we need a doc type, HTML, head and body. Within the head, we're going to add a meta char set. It was UDF-8 as a value. Or we can also make it responsive and give it a title. We add the title first. I'll just call it something like balance sheet, freecodecamp. And another meta tag, name viewport. And for the content, we want to have the width equals device width and set the initial scale to 1.0. So that's usually what you need to make your website responsive. Let's add a link and link our CSS directly as a style sheet. It's styles.css as a value for the href. Make sure you don't have any typos here, that's important. High enough. Missed to add the language attribute with the value of English into the HTML tag. Oh, my mistake, I've put it in the head. It belongs into the HTML tag. So let me cut that out here and I paste it on top. So now it should work. And we can move on to step 2, where we will add a section and a main inside of our body. So we need the main first and nest the section inside of it. For now it doesn't have any content, so we can't see anything. In step 3 we'll add an h1 inside of a section with a nested span element. Still no values or anything. So we still can't see anything in our browser window on the right hand side. Step 4. What have we got here? Alright, we're going to add a class to our span. We will select that later on in our CSS to style our main heading. So we are inside of our h1 here, and we'll add another span inside of it. I'll copy it and I'll paste it, so we've got 2 spans inside of this flex span. First one is supposed to be this text, and the second one is our balance sheet. And now we can see something on the right hand side, and we're going to use CSS to reverse that order and obviously style it a little bit more in the following steps. Step 5. We need a div container with an ID of years. And we also want to use area hidden and set it to true, because we want to hide it later on. Step 6. We need 3 more span elements, opening closing tag. We give them the class year. So not the ID years, which we've given to the div, it's a class. And the value is 2019, 2020, and 2021. They are also given. Step 7. We need a new div with a new class, table wrap. And we're going to create 3 tables inside. We've got the table element for that. Here it says it's going to appear as if we had only 1 table, but it's actually 3 that we are creating. And I'd have screen readers to group that content and make it easier for people who use screen readers. Step 8. We need a caption. Caption is nested inside of the table. And we need to call it assets. We can move on. We can define heads and bodies for tables as well. So we've done that for our entire HTML document. In this case, it has a different meaning, so the table head is also visible in the browser window. It's going to become much clearer what it is when we actually give it value. For now, let's just accept that we need that with an opening and closing tag. And now we're going to add table rows. Got the tr element for that. We need a td element inside, which is the data cell, so table data you could say. And the th, this is for the header cell. And we'll add that 3 times, so we've got 3 different data cells in the head. Once again, don't get too confused at this point. As far as I can recall, it's the first time that we're adding tables inside of freecodecamp. It's going to become much clearer what it is when we add content later on. And I've also made a specific video about HTML tables that you can find in my playlist if you get totally lost in this course section. Next step, we're going to add span elements and our year numbers to the th elements. So these are our table head data cells. And the last one gets a second class, which is called current. The td element for now is left empty. But I have to add the current class not to the span, but to the th. So I didn't read that properly. Let me put it right here. And now everything should work. Step 12. We're now in the body. So this is everything below our 2019, 2020, and 2021, which was in the table head. And we need table rows for that. We need 4 in total. And we give it a class data. And the last one gets the class total. We can move on to step 13. In the first table row, and we'll add a th element. Text is given. And now we can finally see what it is properly right here. So it comes before our 3 th elements that we've given to the head. So the th elements in our head, these were 2019, 2020, and 2021. And here in the table body, our th will be the first column. And to the right of it, we're going to add these td, so the table data cells. We're going to give it monetary values, so $25 here, and you can see this is now below the 2019 and to the right of our cash. This is the cash we currently have on hand. And now it becomes a little bit clearer what we have created so far as a table. Don't forget to add the class current to the last td element in this table row. So it's everything below 2021. That's going to get this class. Step 14. We're going to go over this for the next table row. So we need our table head right here, which is going to be right below our first text with the cash. This one is the text checking. I just copy paste it, add the span element right here. It needs to have a class of description. Don't forget to close it. Right there. And now we need a couple of td elements and 3 more monetary values. And again, don't forget to give the last one the class current. And this completes our next table row. So the second table line in our table body. Step 15 is the same all over with the different text and different values, but nothing new. Step 16 is going to be the final table row here in our first table. You can see that we already have the total assets text right there. It's going to indicate that it's the last line. But what we have to do here is the same as before. So we need a table head as our first data cell for this. So it's going to nest the total assets, and then we'll add 3 more td elements with our monetary values, and the last one gets the class current. Step 17. We're now in our second table. So everything here was our first table. Right here with the caption assets. This was the first table. And now we're going to create a second one. We need a caption. Inside is liabilities. And once more we need a thead and a tbody. And a structure You could say it looks the same as for our first table. So we once again need table rows, td and th elements, and we'll start in the table head. The first td is going to be left empty. And then we need 3 th elements. And they're going to be given values. And it's once more these years, so 2019, 2020, and 2021. And we'll give that the class of sr only. So later on, I guess we're going to make them invisible so that only screen readers can read them, but the user doesn't have to see it, because we've used these numbers in our first table before. And as I've said, the first td is going to be left empty. Let's jump to the body and create 4 table rows. We need our class of data, and for the last one, the class is once again total. Step 21. And we are back with the basic structure. So in each table row, we're going to add once again ATH and 3 TD elements. First one gets this text. And the TD elements, they get a monetary value. Step 22 has the same structure again. Step 23 once more. Step 24. I'll just copy paste it at this point and just change the values. And we are in step 25. Our second table was completed, so we can go ahead and start with the last one, our third table. We need the caption, the table head, and the table body. Step 26. Going to add our table row inside of the table head. And inside we need td and 3 th elements. This is once again for these years. And we will also add the class sr only to them, because we don't want to have them visible. So they're only for screen readers. Step 27. Let's jump to the body. We need one tr. Within it we need a th and 3 tds. So it's once again the same structure for the third table that we've used in the two previous ones. Let's go to step 28. And we are now for the first time in our CSS. We're going to use HTML as a selector, so we are, you could say, targeting everything. I will set the box sizing to border box. Doesn't have an impact yet, but it's needed for all of the following steps. Let's select the body. We use the font family as a property and set it to sans serif. And now you can see something happening. So we've definitely linked our styles.css correctly to the index. Let's change the color. The hex code is given. Step 30. And now the sr only class is used. And we've used that in many different elements. But especially when it comes to these numbers of years, so 2019, 2020. Right here, you can see for every class we've done that. We can select it like this. So it's already given right here. Then we copy paste it. So we are targeting the span elements that have a class of sr only. But if we write it like this, every span element that has a class that includes sr only will be selected. So it has a little bit of a different meaning than just adding this class. Let's set the border to 0. We use the same selector right here. And we'll set the clip property to this value right here. For now that doesn't have an effect. Let's use the clip path. We'll set it to this value. And now you can see something happening. I'll cut it out. And you can see the effect right there. So we can get rid of our years right there for every table if we use that. Let's add this property as well and give it the same value. Step 32. So this stuff is still there, but you can't see it anymore due to the properties that we've used. But if we give it a width and a height, it still affects our layout. By giving it just 1 pixel, we are going to shrink it down. Once again, it was this, all of these years. Let us go to the next step. And we'll set the overflow to hidden. And the white space to no wrap. Step 34. Let's change the position and the padding and also the margin. And it's going to style our website because it styles these elements that we can't see anymore. So when I set it to absolute, it has already changed its entire structure. Let us add the padding, set it to 0, and a margin to -1 pixel. And now our table looks fine. Let's go to step 35. We'll select the H1. We'll give it a max width, a margin and padding. Step 36, and now we are going to reverse it. So what we were setting up in the first steps is now going to be used in CSS to reverse the order. So we've got this Acme widget corp and then the balance sheet, and we're going to use CSS to reverse it. Right here in the H1. We're targeting specifically the flex class of our H1. Set the display to flex and then use flex direction to reverse it. So balance sheet is now before Acme widget corp, even though it's the other order in HTML. Let's set the gap. You can see that right here. Step 37, and we finally have a pseudo selector. It's this first of type. So we can add that, for example, to classes or to elements. Let me start like this, H1, with the class of flex, and then span, which is our element, first of type, and we add the curly brackets. So every h1 that has the class flex, we have the h1. Inside of it is our span with the class flex, and then we'll target the first of type span, which is this one, Acme Widget Corp, and we'll style it now using CSS. So this is what this pseudo selector does. Change the font size, and it's going to affect right here the Acme Widget Corp. It's the first of type, but we've reversed the order, so it's the second in our browser window. Step 38. We can also use last of type as a pseudo selector. It does the same, but it targets the last instead of the first. So let's go over this once more. We've got the h1 right here. The class inside is flex, and then we'll use the last of type of span, which is in this case the balance sheet. And as we have reversed it, it's the first one on our right hand side in the browser window. So if I make it really big, you can see this is targeted. Step 39. Let us select the section. We've nested our entire table into it, or these 3 different tables. And we're going to use the max width property, the margin, and also a border. The values are given. And this is going to give our entire table on the right hand side this border. So this is what the section is here. It starts right above the h1 and it ends right here. After all of our tables have ended, so everything is nested inside, therefore everything gets this box. Step 40, we're going to target, or we're going to select an ID, years. We've used that on a div element. Let me search for it. It was right at the start. Right here after the h1, there it says ID years. And nested inside are these 2019, 2020, and 2021. So this box is now what we're selecting. We'll have to enable the flex box. So we'll set the display to flex. We need to justify the content to the end of the flex direction. One way to do it is to write it like this: justify content as a property and flex end as a value. So this has jumped now to the right hand side. What else do we need? We need to make the element sticky. We can use a position property and set it to sticky. And we need to fix it to the top of its container with top 0. And we've done that correctly. We can move on to step 41. We're still in this ID selector. And we'll change the color and the background color. Values are given. And now you can see we're not only targeting the text, we are targeting this entire box. So it was a div container. Here we have a CSS function. So there are also functions in CSS. And this one is going to calculate simple values. In the example, 100% minus 20 pixels for the property width. So we can use that as values for properties. But first let's change the Z index. It's given to 999. We'll add the margin. And now the padding will get our function 0.5 rem first for the top, and this calculate function for the right. You can see that I'm adjusting the right hand side when I adjust the values. Third one is for the bottom, and the last value is for the left hand side, so it goes clockwise. We're good here, and we can go to step 43. We use our years ID as a selector once more, but we are only going to target the span elements inside that have a class. So if our spans inside don't have a class, they're not going to get selected here. But if they have, no matter what value it has, they're going to get selected. We're going to change the font weight to bold. And you can see this makes our text right here on the right hand side bold. What else do we need? We need to change the width, and we need to align the text to the right. So the width gives us a little bit of spacing in between, and text align right puts it to the right. Step 44. We've used the table wrap class before, so we can select it and set its padding to the values that are given. And check that. So it's this entire div container right here, right after the values for the years, right here. So let me change the padding and you can see that. So it's everything starting with assets. Let's go to step 45. We've got another way to select elements. This time it's the not. So in this case, we are selecting spans that don't have a class of SR only, and all of these will be given a font weight of normal, and it's going to affect almost all of our text right here. Let me just edit, and you can see now everything has been turned from bold to normal, except for the first word and the total. So it's, for example, this here. Step 46. We can also use a keyword in CSS, which is exclamation mark and then important. So if you add it to values like this, it will always be applied. So you can't really override that with a different selector or something. Let us add it to everything inside of this selector. And let's make sure that this is always applied. And therefore we can now remove this one right here. We don't need it anymore. But we only have to delete this one obviously, and we'll keep the font weight normal for the span. Step 48. We need a table selector. And we'll collapse the borders. So by default, every cell gets a new border. And if you've got neighboring cells, they would be separated by 2 borders because every cell has one. By making that a border collapse, neighboring cells will share the same border. Once again, if you don't really know what that is, check out my video about tables in HTML. I've explained that in detail there. Step 49. We're still in our table selector and we'll change the width. We'll set the position to relative and change the top margin. We can move on to step 50. What we need here is a caption selector. We're going to specifically target the captions of tables. We don't have other captions here, but this is what freecodecamp wants us to do. And we'll give it this color. So we've changed assets, liabilities, and net worth, which were the captions of our 3 tables. Change the font size, make it a bit bigger, and we'll set the font weight to normal. Just as a reminder, here's our assets. Then there are our liabilities and the net worth. These were the captions. And we're good here. Step 51. What do we need here? We've got our table caption selector. So all of the captions inside of tables are selected. We'll set the position to absolute. It has already repositioned assets, liabilities, and net worth. And now we'll manually adjust the position with top and left. So you can also do that. You can see what it does if I increase the values and exaggerate them. Let's move on to step 52. We need a selector for td elements within our table body. So tbody, then td, curly brackets, and now we can add our properties and values. We need a width to fill the viewport. And the way to write it is like this: width equals 100 VW. Minimum and maximum should have the same value. So this ensures that the width is always fixed and it never has a different size. So let's just do this. And that should be it in this step. Alright, step 53. Now target the th element within your table body. So once again, tbody space th, curly brackets, demo width of the entire container less 12 rem. So here we can use our calc function once more. The entire container would be 100% and then less 12 rem. So this needs to be the value for our calculate function. Just write it like this. Step 54. So we are targeting our tr elements, but only the ones that have a specific class. And this class should be total. So this was always the last element that we've used in these tables. Let's give it a border bottom, and you can see that. So right above liabilities and net worth, we've got a line now. Or right beneath the total, we've got a line. However you want to look at it. The values are given. Let me search for it. We've had it, for example, right here. So it's all of the tr elements with a class of total right here. But I was supposed to give it a double, not a solid line. So once again, I didn't read that carefully enough. My mistake. But now it should be fine. And we also need a font weight. Okay, let's move on to step 55. We need a different selector. Target the th element within our table rows where the class is total. So the table rows, they should have the class of total. Let me find one. Here it is. So we write it like this. We need these brackets, then class total, and then a spacing and th. And after it, we need the curly brackets. So every th element inside of the tr elements that have the class total are selected now. We'll align the text to the left and change the padding a little bit. Step 56. You've got the difference explained between tr class total and tr dot total as a selector. So the first one selects tr elements with the only class of total. And the second one would select them if total is part of the class. So if you have tr elements with multiple classes and one of them is total, it's going to get selected with only the second way of writing it, so tr dot total. We're going to use it here, but we're going to target only the td elements inside. So tr.total td, we'll align the text to the right and change the padding, and it should be fine. Alright, step 57. Use another pseudo selector. It's the nth of type. So if you have, for example, a fifth, second of type something, you can use this selector. We use tr with a class of total, and within it we want to target the td elements, but only the nth type of, and then curly brackets. And in this case we need a 3 inside of the parentheses, as we want to select a third of type td inside of the tr that have a class of total. Set the padding right to 0.5 rem. So you can see what that does. The selector was definitely written the right way, but let us go into the index and I'll show you what it is. So we need a tr class total. Let me find one. And we can also write it like this with tr.total, and it actually wants me to do it. So let me do that, but I'll find one. Here it is. Now inside we'll have to look for the TDs. We've got 3 of them, and we want to target only the third one. So the one right here, it has the class of current. This is what we are targeting with this pseudo selector. And we can move on to step 58. Now we are adding this interactive hover effect, and we can write it like this: tr.total. So the tr elements that have a class of total, and then add the hover. I'll change the background color, and if I hover over it now with my cursor, you can see that it changes the background color. So right here for total, in each of the tables. Step 59. We'll select the TD elements with the class value of current. We can just write it like this and make the font italic. So just use font style as a property, set it to italic. Step 60. We need the tr element with the class of data and give it a background image. Background image is itself a property, and we'll use a linear gradient, and it's going to give all of these values a simple background gradient. Let's go to step 61. We need the th elements within our tr data elements. So every tr that has a class data, and within it the th elements are now selected. Text align left, padding top, and padding left. And we're good to proceed. Step 62. So what we're now selecting is all of the table rows that have the class data, and within it the th elements and everything that has the class description. So there's a space in between, it's a different thing. So that's an important distinction to make. I'll change the display to block. Change the text to italic, so we use font style once more. I'll set the font weight to normal. And we'll change padding and margin. Step 63. We're getting closer to the end. we can simply remove that rule completely and go to step 64. So these monetary values aren't in line with our text. We're going to change that now. And we can do so by selecting the td elements within our tr.data elements. So every td element that's nested inside of a table row with the class data is now targeted. Let's set the vertical align to top. And for horizontal align, we can just write text align and set it to right. Let's change the padding a little bit. And now it should look fine. So our monetary values are in line now with the text. We'll go to step 65, which is the final step. And again, table rows with the class of data, and inside we'll target the table data cells. But specifically the last one, so we need this pseudo selector, last of type. Let's change the padding right to 0.5 rem. So if I exaggerate this, you can see what it does. It pushes everything to the left. And that was it. So this was already the 11th section right here in the responsive web design certification. It was about building a balance sheet using pseudo selectors. Go over it yourself. If you get stuck, refer to my walkthrough as always. I hope this video was helpful, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.